You ever wish you could just see your thoughts, lay them all out in front of you? Well, today, we're diving into an experiment that pretty much does just that. It makes the whole process of thinking visible. We're going to break down a really powerful tool for organizing your mind. Think of this as a quick, focused lecture on how to literally visualize the way we think. So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll talk about the big problem with how we usually organize our thoughts. Then, we'll get into the science of why mind maps work so well. After that, we've got a real-world case study to look at. We'll explore the brain's potential, and we'll wrap up with how this all applies in the real world, from the classroom to the clinic. Let's get right into it. All right, Section 1, Mapping the Human Mind. I want to start by asking you something. Think back to the last time you were taking notes, in a meeting, a lecture, whatever. I'm willing to bet it was all lists, bullet points, one idea after another in a straight line. But is that really how your brain works? Seriously, think about it. When an idea pops into your head, does it show up in a neat, orderly queue? No way. It's more like a firework, right? There's a central bang, and then suddenly you have this whole constellation of connected thoughts and memories and images exploding outwards. Your brain doesn't think in bullet points. It thinks in webs. And this right here shows you the core problem. Over on the left, you've got your typical linear notes. Yeah, it's organized, but it's also super rigid. It kind of locks your ideas into this one fixed path. But on the right, you see what we call radiant thinking. Now that is so much closer to how our minds actually work. Ideas just radiating out from a central point, branching off in all these dynamic, nonlinear ways. So the big question is, how do you capture that radiant thinking on a piece of paper? Well, that's where the mind map comes in. It's a visual diagram designed specifically to mirror that natural associative structure of thought. It was popularized by a guy named Tony Buzan way back in the 70s, and his big aha moment was that our brains work by association, so our thinking tools should too. A mind map is basically you having a conversation with your own brain, but in its native language. Okay, on to Section 2, the science of association. Because this isn't just some clever little note-taking trick. Oh no, there's some serious psychological theory that explains why mind maps are such a powerhouse for learning and for memory. So first up, we've got schema theory. In psychology, a schema is kind of like a mental blueprint, or a category we use to organize everything we know. The second you hear the word vacation, your brain instantly activates this whole network of related ideas: beaches, flights, relaxing, adventure. A mind map does the exact same thing, just visually. It builds out that structured unit of information around one central idea, just like our mental schemas do. And this brings us to a really powerful memory hack called dual coding theory. See, our brains have two main channels for taking in information: verbal and visual. Your standard boring notes only use the verbal one, but a mind map, with its keywords, its colors, its whole layout, it lights up both channels. Think of it like this. You're building two different highways to the exact same memory in your brain. When you encode information that way, the memory becomes way stronger and lasts a lot longer. And finally, we have the spreading activation model, which kind of ties this all together. This theory basically says our memory is just this huge, sprawling network of connected ideas, or nodes. And when you activate one node, let's say the word coffee, that activation just naturally spreads to all the related nodes, like morning, energy, and warm. A mind map is literally a physical drawing of that exact process. Every branch is a pathway showing how one idea kicks off the next one. Okay, enough theory. Let's see this thing in the real world. We're going to dive into a case study to see mind mapping in action. We're shifting from the why it works to the how it works by looking at an experiment that was designed to trace someone's actual flow of thought. And the setup for this experiment was actually really simple. First, the subject just had to pick a central topic, something that was personally interesting to them. Then they were encouraged to get creative, use colors, use designs, and this is key, stick to single keywords or short phrases, not long sentences. The ultimate goal? To capture a whole complex topic in a single image that you can understand in a glance. The subject for this experiment was a 24-year-old postgraduate student identified as AM. So what we're about to see is a unique little window into her own cognitive world. And the central theme she chose, family. A word that seems so simple on the surface, but when you dig in, it's incredibly rich and complex. Let's see how our brain decided to unpack it. So this is where it starts. Radiating right out from that central idea of family, she laid down what we call her primary connections. These are the main pillars of her family schema: home, father, mother, brother, and grandparents. This is the first, most immediate layer of her mental map.
But now, watch what happens. As that activation spreads from the center, these secondary associations start to pop up. Grandparents connects to these big abstract ideas like spirituality and moral values. Mother branches out into actions and roles, cooking, working, teaching. And father is linked to breadwinner, sure, but also to these deeply emotional concepts like love and support. You can literally see her web of meaning being built right there, one keyword at a time. And all of this brings us to our fourth section, unlocking your brain's potential. Because what this experiment really shows us is the incredible power you get from seeing the whole picture all at once. This quote from the research just nails it. The main idea is to capture the entire information of a topic so it can be understood at a single glance. That's the whole point. It's about getting away from reading things one line at a time and moving to a more holistic understanding. You don't just read a mind map, you see the relationships, the hierarchy, the entire structure of an idea instantly. So, the takeaway from this experiment is super clear. Mind mapping is not just some quirky way to take notes. It is a proven, highly effective method for visually tracing and organizing all of those complex, interconnected ideas that are bouncing around inside our heads. But look, this isn't just some academic exercise. For our final section, let's talk about why this matters to you. Where can you actually use this tool in the real world?
Well, the applications are all over the place. For students, it's a total game changer for studying and boosting memory before an exam. In a clinical setting, believe it or not, it can be a tool in things like cognitive behavioral therapy, helping patients literally map out and then restructure their negative thought patterns. And really, in any field, it's a powerhouse for brainstorming new ideas and solving tough problems.
I just love this quote from a cognitive psychologist. It's not just a study tool. It's a way to visually dialogue with your own mind, making abstract thoughts concrete and actionable. I mean, that really reframes it, doesn't it? It's not just about organizing stuff. It's about pulling your own thinking process out of your head so you can look at it, play with it, and really understand it. So that brings us to the end. We've gone from the problem with straight-line thinking, through the science, and into a real-world case study. The only thing left to do is for you to try it yourself. Which leads me to my final question for you. What complex idea, what big project, or what tricky problem will you map out first?